Hello and welcome to Organic Edible Garden. It's late summer, early autumn, and over the last month the garden's been producing more food than we can use. And if you're like me, I dislike waste and I'm over-benched for the season. So we're going to show you some simple methods to actually preserve these so we can use them during the winter months. This vine's been going since before Christmas now, and it's produced really well. I've picked the last crop off now, and whatever else comes on, I use for bean seeds, which I'll save for planting the following year. What I'm going to do with the beans is I'm going to freeze them. But before I do that, they need to be blanched. The reason we do this is because all fruit and vegetables contain enzymes and fungus that can break down over time in the freezer. And by blanching them for about 3 minutes, it will kill that off, and then they're ready to go. And all we have to do is wash them and top and tail them first. I'll take the ends off and chop them probably into 3 pieces. I want them evenly sized so when I blanched them, they all sort of cook at the same time. And while I've been doing the beans, a big pot of water has been boiling on the stove. And at the same time I've got another container here with ice water in it. So after they come off the stove, they're going to go straight into the ice water and cool down. Now we're going to put them in the boiling water. We want them in for 3 minutes from start to go. As soon as it comes off the stove, throw it straight into that ice water. We'll just leave them in the ice water for about 5 minutes until they cool down enough. They're cool and bright green now, which is a good sign. We need to drain them on a tea towel. You can put a fan on them to dry them quick, or even stick them straight in the freezer to dry them off and then put them in bags afterwards. But I use mine for curries, so it's not so important. They're dry enough for my use now, so I'm going to put them in some Ziploc bags. I'll probably get 4 meals out of this amount of beans, but if you've got a bigger family, you'll probably need bigger bags. The next important thing is to get as much air out of the bag as we can. So we'll zip it partly way through and we'll suck the rest out. And then straight in the freezer as soon as you can. I'm going to bottle my tomatoes rather than freeze them. And one of the first things I want to do is sterilise my jars, and once they're done they're going to go in the oven to heat up. I want them at about 95 to 100 degrees if possible. I've also got my lids boiling in water just to make sure they're properly sterilised. Next thing I want to do is prepare the tomatoes. I want the skins off, and I'm going to do this by blanching them in boiling water. If you leave the skins on, they can actually go tough and even a little bitter. The best way to do this is just do a cross at the top of the tomato. Now we're going to blanch them in some boiling water. We'll leave them in the boiling water for about 20 or 30 seconds. Then we'll take them out and we'll dip them straight into ice water. Next thing, we just have to peel the tomatoes. The skin should come off really easy now. Once that's done, we just want to try and chop them up roughly. And if we chop them in half, we can take most of the seeds out if we don't want them. These tomatoes that we're stewing would just be used over pasta or something during winter, so it just doesn't have to be beautiful. At the same time, you can always add things like onion and garlic to these sort of dishes, but I don't. I just keep it really simple. I don't put salt or pepper in, and when I'm making the pasta, I'll add it then. And the last thing we have to do is add some lemon juice. The reason we're doing this is that tomatoes are borderline on the acidity for bottling. People say tomatoes are acid-free or things like that, and that's all just a myth. They're all about 4.2 on the acidity scale, so adding a bit of lemon juice will just help with the preserving method. Now there's no need to add any water into this mix, there's enough juice in the tomatoes itself. We're going to fill it up so it's just got about 1/4 of an inch head space. I use a funnel to put the tomatoes into the jar, and if you don't and get tomatoes on the rim, make sure you clean it with a paper towel or something, just so it seals the lids really well. The lids are already expanding with the heat in there, and now we're going to stick it in a water bath for about 20 minutes. I'm using an urn here to boil my jars because I can keep it at 100 degrees. If you don't have something like this, an old preserving pan or any tall pan that you can fill with water, put a tea towel on the bottom and put the jars in, will work just as fine. There's other methods, like you can do the overflow method or even the oven method, but I think this is the safest and the most hygienic. Another way of prolonging the season with your fruit and vegetables is with a dehydrator. Things like this can be picked up for about $100 for the basic models, or you can try on Trade Me and get them cheaper. We're using things like your plums or your prunes and your apples, but you can use your tomatoes and things, any type of fruit and vegetable to dry it this way. I did some of these apples last night. I cut them evenly so they dry at the same amount and dipped them in some lemon juice and water, and it keeps them a nice colour. And by morning they'd already dried. Now these guys here, I can put in Ziploc bags and throw in the freezer and they'll keep for years. And in the winter time I can chop it up and throw it in my mueslis. I also did a few plums and stuck them in. I halved them and now they're dried. They taste a bit like prunes, which is what they sort of are, and they'll also go in the freezer for winter. And we had so many cherry tomatoes this year, and I also did some red and yellow cherries. They've dried now, and they'll be thrown into the pasta or whatever dish I'm making during the winter time. 20 minutes is up, and it's time for the tomatoes to come out now.